All right, everybody. This will be a warning to all politicians. Warning to all politicians. I'm running for president in 2024, part 84. And if you're new to any of these videos I've made, the whole idea is strictly YouTube campaign. No donations, no rallies, no fundraisers, no pandering to groups for money. If you like my ideas in 2024, you write in me as a candidate, and if there's enough interest, I'll file the paperwork and make it official as running for president in 2024 when the time comes. So in the meantime, you can give a thumbs up. We get enough thumbs up, maybe some of the politicians will take note and actually do their jobs and get things done instead of spending all their time pandering and flapping their gums in front of TV cameras, bolstering their own egos and stuff like that, whatever you want to call it. Self-serving gum flapping. So I went over a lot of the current events going on in the country and stuff, and also some basic things with taxes and hourly wages, our labor laws, things like this. Things like what can we do to make life easier for people in this country and make it more attractive to people to live productive lives and try to achieve and live in peace with each other than choosing lives of crime and all this and the other things, and a lot of the stuff people say are the cause of crime and stuff, and it being poverty and such and everything. And I believe more in effect it has to do with mindsets and what people perceive as being acceptable behavior by them due to other things in society that more or less tell them, yeah, you hey man, you've been stepped over, stepped on, oppressed, this and that and that other thing, and so they never really look around at the avenues they have for bettering themselves and achieving something, and just kind of adopt the effort attitude, and it's all reinforced through music, movies, etc. People who like to flap their gums and encourage them so that they can have a larger following, etc., and bolster their own egos as being somebody. So my campaign is basically just like nuts and bolts. What can we do, the actual nuts and bolts of this country that affect people's lives and hinder them from achieving a good life or a decent life. I think there are things that can be made better. And that being said, though, I think it's a real slap in the face to the millions and billions of poor people on the face of this planet who wouldn't even do so much as tell a lie, as never mind steal or kill somebody to get what they wanted in life. For these people out there to say, hey, society made me this way by doing the X, Y, Z and all this, and my poverty is because of you, and they take no self-responsibility, and they feel like they can live off the hook and do whatever they want to because they don't have everything that they want. So, and then that's encouraged by a lot of do-nothings in Hollywood and leftists who, because they got lucky or whatever and became some famous actor or something who can be dumb as a box of rocks. A lot of these people in Hollywood aren't the highest educated people. They've gotten their breaks or slept their way to the top, or whatever they've done. They've just known the right people, gone to the right party, shared the right drugs, this and that. Many of them came through a system like I did. Many of them worked in restaurants as waiters and waitresses and this and that and everything, which would explain a lot about these psycho women in Hollywood who even though with their fame and their money and everything, just go through relationship after relationship and everything, because there's a lot of waitresses that are no, I'll get backlash on that, I'm sure, stereotyping, but there's lots of decent women who are waitresses, hardworking. It is a hard job and this and that, but there are a lot of the women who cannot handle the stress of that, and who are psychos, and who if they make their way into Hollywood, they're just a psycho waitress who got famous. And you could probably say the same thing for the waiters, who got their big break and made it out of the restaurant business and got into a TV show or something or whatever. And then all of a sudden there's somebody and have an opinion on everything and anything under the sun, and they're not even educated in it. A lot of them just reiterate trash they've heard from somebody else who isn't uneducated on the subject. So all that being said, like I said, the nuts and the bolts, just the basic groundwork, the framework that this country's built on: free enterprise, prosperity through your hard work, innovation, being an honest, good person, and the providence of God in your life. And I know a lot of people don't like to understand that, but if you're a religious person at all, you understand our fortunes have more to do with our relationship with God than not. Whether it's for poverty or for wealth. In the Quran, if you're Muslim, you know all wealth comes from Allah. Christians, you also know this very well. I haven't studied too deeply into the other religions, but I can, knowing that they are also from the same God, you can more or less understand that God is the one who can open doors when they're closed, make your paths along the right lines, this and that, and you can get to, even though all the prophets and everybody struggled and many lived in poverty and were demonized, persecuted, and shunned by this world, God has also enriched people to be able to move humanity in directions that were good directions. So, and if you look at any of the quote-unquote Far Eastern religions, which it's the same thing in Christianity: do unto others as you'd have done unto you. If you want to look at karma, if you look at it in the Christian respect, you reap what you sow. So if you choose a life of drug dealing and violence and this and that, you're going to reap what you sow. If you choose a life of not doing anything and living off of welfare, etc. and everything, you're going to reap what you sow. You're never going to break that cycle. If you choose a good path of being a good, honest person, putting in a decent day's work and being wise with your money, all religions teach to be wise with your money. You don't go chasing after all the material things of this life, and your focus is not on this life only. You're a charitable person. Try to be a good person. More paths and doors will surely open for you. There might be some obstacles here or there, maybe a test from God. You might be doing good and then lose everything and wonder what the hell you've done wrong. I've been there. It's like, why is this happening to me? I'm not out hurting people. I'm not out doing things I'm not supposed to do. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Why is my life falling apart? So I'm not saying you won't have any trials or tribulations. But clearly the better road is the path you take with your Maker through your choice of religion. So clearly our founding fathers had a belief in that providence of success and prosperity and goodwill and all these types of things towards all men. And even though there was slavery and everything, they knew it's a work in progress. You cannot change things overnight. It has never gone down in history that way. It never will. Absolutely, positively will not. The founding fathers were up against multitudes of people who did not see things the way they did. Especially in the South, the slave owners, this and that, they didn't want a civil war. They would much rather have done things gradually, made people see things their way, and done things through law and ordinances and etc. But it didn't go down that way. So, and I think that's lost on these younger generations who attacked the founding fathers, attacked the whole founding of the country. There's a lot of misinformation. Were people done wrong? Were Africans done wrong? Yes. Were Native Americans done wrong? Yes. But to the extremes that some people want to make every single white person guilty of everything that was done, that's ludicrous. Most white people in this country cannot trace their roots back to the founding of this country. They came after the world wars. So you have to understand that. Is there racism in this country? Yes, individual racism. I've met plenty of individual racists. I've even met people who worked at companies who were managers, like at a restaurant chain or whatever, who were racist and biased and would not hire African Americans or what have you. That was them. It was not the corporate policy. It was not in every single store or franchise. So yes, there is racism, but to meet, and I've met plenty of black racists. There are plenty of people who hate white people, African Americans who hate white people, hate Mexicans, hate Chinese, hate everybody under the sun. And some of them follow this black supremacy stuff spouted by Farrakhan, all this and that and everything. So we have these problems. We have these basic social problems and conceptions about each other. The only dialogue is protesting in the streets, rioting and looting is not going to do anything. Only dialogue and understanding each other is going to help anything. All right? And then we have the nuts and the bolts things that all the politicians ignore. And to some degree, you see younger politicians coming in, which a lot of younger people like, because, hey, that old guy, that 70, 80-year-old guy, doesn't have a clue. And there are things that are antiquated in this country. We have not grown and looked at things. So my ideas as far as like labor laws, and I just like throw numbers out there. They're not, this is the way it's going to be, but just so you get the general concept that, we'd work it all out. What is part-time? How many will it be? 3 8-hour days, 24 hours total, or 3 9-hour days, 27 hours. And when you go and get a job, it'll be kind of almost like a contract between you and the employer. Hey, you're hiring part-time. They'll advertise, which means going in, you're going to get, whether it's going to be the 24 or the 27 or whatever, anything over 8 or 9 hours in a day will be overtime. And maybe we'll stick with the 8 since that's what everybody knows. And then full-time will be considered 32 hours. And so if you're working part-time, you're on that part-time schedule. It's 24 hours. Anything you work over 8 in a day will be overtime. Anything over the 24, that'll be overtime. And if you get up to 32 hours in the week, they can't say, oh, no, we're not paying you the overtime because we're just counting you as a full-time employee now. No, that wasn't what you hired on for. If they want 32-hour-a-week employment, then it'll be a whole different wage and overtime and stuff like that. So, sorry, the camera going crooked there. All these numbers will be worked out. And then, like I say, you can have a 4-day 40-hour week, a 5-day 40-hour week, a 5-day 50-hour week. Some employers, people work 60 hours, their salary or whatever. We'll iron all this stuff out in an equitable way that, is fair for employers and fair for employees. We'll make the taxes right to make, because a lot of these people, we'll tax the corporations the hell out of them, and we'll tax the hell out of rich people and all this. It's just going to trickle down to you. Money and currency and an economic system, it's like your circulatory system in your body. You cut it off from one place, it affects somewhere else. You soak too much of it up in taxes and whatever, that's like your heart, you consider that the government, Wall Street, and what have you, whatever their corporate and all this. If they're soaking up too much of it, the rest of the body starves. If you cut them off too much, it's taxed to how it's gonna affect you too. You want higher wages, this and that. Well, because the answer is we got to lower the tax rates to make it feasible to support it. And also, when we look at these hours and stuff like that, we can get more people back to work with a clearer definition of the hourly wages and the tables. This is the way it is here. And maybe we can get more people, but to work in less hours at a better wage, even. Like I say, all these things got to be ironed out. We got to sit down and look at them and the cause and the effect. Because there's no free lunch. You can't say, hey, that's great, we'll just pay people all this. And well, wait a minute. What's that going to do downstream? What's that going to affect? It's going to be higher prices at the store, so that you're actually hurting poor people. Same with taxes. State sales taxes and this and everything are based off, they're percentage based. So as the price of goods go up, the states are getting more of your money without ever asking for a tax increase. And where's that money going? What's it going to? So I think your federal tax burden should be decreased, and your state burden should be increased a bit, because you'll pay more attention to what your state politicians are doing with the money, and you'll be able to hold them more accountable. When the money goes off to Washington, D.C., good luck getting them to listen to you. They got a blank checkbook up there with all our names on it, and they write checks for whatever willy-nilly. They don't care. It's not coming out of their pockets. So I think we can look at all this to do with wages and taxes. Get it to where if people make a decent effort to make something of their lives, it's possible. That they're not going to be having the government putting their hands in their pocket all the time, keeping them from having money to use for themselves and their families. But we also need to educate people on proper use of money. Hey, before you go out and buy all this crap and everything, set yourself up some investments, set yourself up an account for when you get old and gray and you're going to need money. Have an emergency fund. We need to teach these things in school, economics, and let people know, hey, you're responsible for yourself. Life is not a party. There's going to be problems. And while money should never be, your sole focus, you're just so in love with money. Got to have money. It's a tool. You got to learn how to use that tool. We need to teach children in school when they're little how to use this tool. And that if they go off pursuing a life of party time and this and that in their adolescent years and, you know, into their early 20s and even some into their 30s and this and that, don't come crying to everybody when you don't have anything and blame society. If you choose to be a criminal and, you know, you reach the age of 40, whatever, and some cop knocks the hell out of you, don't come crying to me. You chose that life. You're taking that chance. Don't, you know, I'm tired of crying for criminals. They get 3 squares and medical and all this in prison. Yeah, sure, it's a shithole, and they're locked up, and they got to deal with all the crap and the racist crap and the you know, violence and stuff in the prisons and everything. But hey, we're all out here working our asses off trying to make something of our lives, and they're sitting in there lifting weights and eating good, and, you know, no one's talking about meatless Mondays for them. So speaking about school and meatless Mondays and all this kind of junk, I think maybe this virus, there's something, you know, we look at paying for all these teachers, and teachers should be paid well. I've got no problem with that as long as, you know, they're sticking to the basics. Just a good education, reading, writing, math, sound economics, instilling good morals and behavior into children, and telling them, hey, you know, if you do these things, you're going to have trouble in your life. If you stick over here to this path here, you might have some troubles, but it's going to be a lot better for most of you. But looking at this with talking, you know, homeschooling and you know, actually at a certain age, do we need a teacher in the classroom? We have the technology now that, you know, maybe we can do, I don't know, somebody would it be better to have children who are at a young age, grade school age, staying at home, learning through a online system, a computer-based teaching program, a unified nationwide program, teaches all the basics and everything, have them, you know, doing their lessons, you know, maybe going to class once a week to be with a teacher, and or twice a week. Because if we look at the money we spend on building all these schools and then trying to educate and find teachers and pay them well and everything, and people just say, oh, you can't just keep throwing money. Well, you're going to have to. As the population grows, we got to look at these things that are going to you know, you can only have so much weight on the bridge before it collapses. You know, it's like the welfare system. You can't keep instilling this welfare system, because as the population grows and you get more and more people on welfare, even though it's a lesser percentage of the population, maybe you get things going good and you say, oh, well, it's only 2% on welfare now or whatever. Well, if the population's doubled, it's actually, you know, 4%. You know, you can't just keep maintaining the same old systems that have become so gigantic that they're becoming more of a burden to have than something positive. So I'm saying, you know, we've got the technology, and we need to move forward with bringing America. It's 2020. Bring America forward, instill good things in our children, try and see if we can work out a thing, whether it's, you know, high school kids learning at home, doing their courses and their classes online, or cutting the school week, you know, do a half and half thing, whatever it is. We need to look at innovative ideas and stuff, solutions for the future as the country keeps growing. And I think all these politicians are so busy flapping their gums trying to bolster their own lives and or their own positions in their own parties and making a name for themselves and this and that. There's a lot of things they're not working on. They are not working on stuff. We need to move forward. We need to, hey, look at these labor laws. They're kind of, they worked back in, you know, the 40s, 50s, whatever, the 60s. They're not working now. The country's more diverse. You have more people. You have a lot of women in the workforce who have children and this and that. We need, you know, time for pregnancy. We need to have, you know, how many sick days should that should be a national thing too, along with the wage. You got to give each employee this many sick days or whatever, this many vacation days. I'm not saying go overboard like Europe does, where, you know, they get these monstrous amounts of vacation time and this and that and everything. And I talked about, you know, having a system where, you know, there's really no IRS except for, you know, maybe some higher up corporate type stuff or whatever. But as far as wages and this and that, we set a rate. You go to a job, you work that job, it comes out automatically, goes into your tax account. Your taxes are paid. You don't have to file. You're not going to owe. You know, you're not going to get a refund, whatever. It's 2%, whatever it is, it's gone. They got their money. They don't have a right to come and take more. You don't get in trouble with the IRS. You don't have to file the paperwork. You see what I'm saying? Making things easier. Same with driver's licenses. Why, once you get a driver's license, do you have to keep going back for your whole life to renew your driver's license? Yes, if you get a change of address, you got to renew your license, even though your license is for, you know, showing you're capable of driving a car and should not have nothing to do with your proving where you live. You know, but they like to be able to send their tickets and this and that and everything. Well, okay, so why can't you just update at home on your computer and have a digital driver's license, etc., whatever, your thumbprint on there, your photo when you got the license. You can add a current photo. The one when you go in and actually get your license, that'll always be there. The officer will slide your license into a reader. Your original information will pop up. Any changes you've made will pop up. He'll still have the information he needs, and you never have to go to motor vehicle again. How about that? So, there's a lot of things we can move forward on, and some of these might seem like little things, but we all know it seems like there's never enough time in the day. There's never, you know, you're constantly working, you're trying to stay afloat, you're worried about this, you're worried about that. Let's take some of these little things out of the way. One less thing you got to deal with. You know, hey, it might not be that big a thing, but, you know, if you don't have to spend a day down a motor vehicle or whatever taking care of something, I'd say that's a plus, even if it's a little plus. Spend that time with your kids, or spend that time doing whatever, learning about investments, whatever it is. So that's the basis of my campaign, is make things easier, make life pursuing a decent life more attractive than pursuing, you know, drug dealing and this and that and everything, making it harder for politicians to rip you off by keep raising taxes and everything. We'll get we'll bring everything back into you know, realistic what's the word? Anyhow, a realistic fact-based schedule, if you want, on like taxes and this and that, where it's more or less written in stone. Look, this is what's going to work. Instead of these people being able to get out there and make it a economic social, oh, just gotta hate them rich and take everything they got and blah 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 and all this, or, you know, the other way around, oh, them poor people, blah blah blah, you know, all they want to do is live off the dole and etc. You know, there's people who want to divide us economically, racially, and all this, all just for their own political cause. If we fix the things like that, then they can't play us like that against each other. And what's to say, united we stand, divided we fall? They can't play us that way. We fix the basic nuts and bolts of the country, tell everybody, hey, here you go. you're on your even playing field. I'm sorry if your parents were screw-ups and drug addicts and you live in poverty and in the ghetto, but you can make your way out. You're on the same playing field as everybody else. Same as that, kid living in the suburbs, whatever. He's got avenues he can take to pursue a decent life. So do you. Just like football, everybody plays by the same rules. You got a referee, etc. So if everybody understands, hey, you got the same chance, etc. Maybe they'll be less apt to let these naysayers and groups in their heads that tell them, just say F it and don't try at all. So tax structures, education, things like this, immigration. You got to look at a lot of these leftists say, oh, look at them Scandinavian countries and this and that and everything. Or these Europe. Have you looked at their immigration laws and stuff? And it's easy for them. It's easy for like Canada and all these other countries to sit back, oh, America, and play that game, and they put their people, their leftist liberal people on. They haven't dealt with what we've had to deal with here. They don't have a Mexico on their border. They're starting to have to deal with integration and stuff now more. They've lived isolated. They've been their own little what was that movie, Black Panther? What was the name of that town or that city they were in? You look at a lot of these countries that are pointing their finger at us and well, you've been living isolated there, man. You've had your culture and your race being the primary dominant thing. You haven't dealt with multicultural, multi-religion, and racial issues and this and that, and floods of people coming into your country because their own country don't give a shit about them, like Mexico. So we'll work on those things of foreign policy and all those types of things and everything. So I just wanted to go over a lot of these ideas and stuff. I know I didn't get to them all. I didn't know I'd get thorough into them all. Maybe I'll do another one. All right, wish you all the best out there. Be safe, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless. Adios.